tightrope between spirituality and material worldly commitments in our different role as students, as professionals, but at the same time continuing with the ultimate goal of spiritual fulfillment?
I usually telling generation of 20th century and generation of 21st century. You are generation of 21st century. We, generation of 20th century. Our century already gone. So we also now our walk one leg towards our final days. So now, the generation of 21st century, you have the opportunity to create better century, peaceful century, more peaceful century. So you can enjoy the result or fruit of that effort. So now here, as we already discussed, the genuine peace must come through inner peace, not through weapon. And on the basis of strong belief, oneness of 7 billion human beings. I want peace, they also want peace. I want progress, prosperity, they also want. So violence is mutual destruction. So no matter how sort of difficulties, we have to live together. So whenever you see we face some problem, some disagreement, we must find through dialogue, find to a solution, mutually equitable solution. That's the only way. Spend more money, prepare for military forces. I think increase more tension, more difficulties. And here is a big contradiction. The big nations spend a lot of money for weapons. And at the same time, nobody dare use this weapon, including nuclear weapon. If nuclear weapon actually is used, that's a mutual destruction. If the presence of a number of nuclear weapons used, I think some people say the Holocaust, if happened, then as a result of nuclear weapon, what would call window or something, they say, become dark or something. So when they explain the consequences of nuclear holocaust, really very terrible. One occasion in Italy, you see, we have some Nobel laureate and some the expert about nuclear. You see, they explain the consequences if nuclear weapon use, holocaust happen. Really unthinkable, terrible. So that meeting, I express now banning of free world because of free nuclear weapon or banning nuclear weapon. It is not sufficient just to sort of against nuclear weapon. It is not sufficient. Now we must set up timetable. Within 2 years, within 3 years, we must reach free nuclear weapon. So the public, the worldwide public movement should start. I expressed that, but then nothing happened. So therefore, you see, the generation of the 21st century, I think you have this special responsibility. If present sort of way of thinking, this system goes, this 21st century also will be a miserable century. Killing. And many poor people, even facing starvation. Some elite people, they not only enjoy their sort of livelihood, but also, you see, they create more tension. I think you Sometimes I jokingly used to telling people, my generation, our generation, I think including in front line sort of gentlemen, our sort of responsibility is create more problem. So the generation of 21st century, let them solve these problems. So I really used to feel like that. So all our hope is relying on the generation of 21st century. Please, now should not think of contented present or existing situation. You must think how to change this to create a more peaceful, more compassionate world on the basis of sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. That can be done through education. Thank you.
Okay, the lady at the back. I'll come to you. I'll just come to you next. The lady at the back. Yeah.
Thank you, His Holiness. My name is Suman. I'm a Vivekanand Kendra volunteer. My question is again from the spiritual field. If we are on the path of spiritual life, then we must have to renounce some things. And the biggest thing is, we must have to forget our individual identity as this body. But our ego as this body becomes the barrier. So is there any practical solution for this?
Krishna. Not very clear. Please repeat your question.
When we are towards the spiritual life,
Spiritual life.
then we must have to renounce some things in our life, like our likes, our dislikes, that's. And also we have to forget our identity as this body, like Shivam.
I think two level of spirituality practice, spiritual practice. One level, we are talking or we are thinking entire 7 billion human beings, their well-being. So simply, you see, through awareness, any activities out of motivated by anger, jealousy, these are destructive. After all, we are same brothers, sisters. Whether you believe religion or not, we are same human being. Now the climate condition, global warming, and environment issue, and also global economy. No differences in this nation or that nation. And global economy and global warming, national boundary or religious boundary, no relevant. We have to talk, we have to think humanity. So thinking these lines, that's another sort of level of spirituality. No need, because renunciations are ready. Then another level, individual case, then like sort of Christianity, Buddhism, and Hindus and Muslims, you see some sort of special way to practice the way, practice way. For this case, you see, take some vows, like that, and including because of celebrity. So therefore, I think we are talking the first line, how to build happy world. That does not mean the whole 7 million human beings should be religious-minded people. No. I think in ancient time, when Buddha there, non-believer there. In modern time, certainly, as I mentioned earlier, around billion human beings, non-believer. And they're also human brothers, sisters. So therefore, you see, we especially emphasize secular values, secular ethics. we should not sort of mix with certain level of spirituality, that sort of certain practice, including certain vows like that. In order to practice these things, first level, you don't need to become a nun. you can carry, you see, because of marriage life, and the entire 7 billion human being become more a strict religious practitioner. Then I think human population eventually cease. I think in spite of some problems we human being created, I think I prefer human being remain on this planet.
Last but one question. Yes, please. One question more.
Your Holiness, Sadar Pranam. My name is A.K. Parasha. I'm a retired police officer. Your Holiness, as you are aware, India is a practicing and thriving democracy for the last 70 years or so. And Your Holiness, you have also been in India for the last about 60 years or so, and you have seen it from close quarters. The hallmark of our democracy is freedom of the individual, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of education, freedom of trade practices, freedom of worship, and all such freedoms which are available in the developed world also. Now, recently there has been a talk of a growing culture of intolerance. Some of our so-called intellectuals talk of growing culture of intolerance. You have seen Indian democracy working very closely. Would you agree that there is any growing intolerance, sense of intolerance or culture of intolerance, and would you like to say something about it?
Again, as I mentioned earlier, I always look at people's level. So India also, I think generally, I think Indian people, I think wonderful. I think few individual politicians or some leaders, okay, sometimes a little bit strange, but that not represent, cannot represent Indian people. So that's my view. I think overall, India, look, compare Bangladesh, Pakistan, even Sri Lanka, and Afghanistan, all these, the neighboring states, I think this country, because of population, you see, in spite a lot of sort of drawbacks or difficulties, but overall, this country most stable, most peaceful. I feel like that. Yes?
Mic closer to your mouth, please.
Yes, Your Holiness, I am Mangi Agarwal. I'm a retired teacher.
Retired what?
Teacher.
Teacher.
Teacher. And I have now grown up children, and my grandchildren are growing up, and they all have developed what we call so-called scientific and logical mind. So, how do I convince them, or what do I tell them about life after death or reincarnation? How do I convince them of those things? Our Indian thought are there. Any
Because of reincarnation. That's, I think, individual business, as I mentioned earlier. There are some people, even some religious tradition, like Buddhism, Jainism, and also Sankhyaism, you see, accept, let's say, life after life, no beginning of life. And then Christianity, Islam, I think Judaism, and some Indian tradition also, you see, have the concept, this very life created by God, by Deva. So there's different sort of views. So there's all these spiritual sort of belief is personal matter, private sort of business. So we cannot sort of teach people If you believe this religion or that religion, that's up to them. I think provide, I think useful. You see, to mention, you see, different religions, different philosophy, different concepts. It's simply comparative study where different spirituality. I think let them know there are many different traditions. That's much better, you see, to develop sense of mutual respect, mutual sort of harmony, these things. And then, you see, not necessary to say this belief is better, that belief is better. You cannot say. I'm Buddhist. Sometimes I describe I'm a staunch Buddhist because I study all the Nalanda masters of writing. So there are a lot of criticism, some other tradition. But I never state Buddhism is best. Religion, like medicine, to certain illness, particularly medicine is best. We cannot say one medicine, this is best medicine. We cannot say. So similarly, according to certain people, different sort of mental disposition, for such person, is this religion is most suitable, so best. Generally, we cannot say, you see, this religion, that philosophy is best. Like that. So the logic goes very well, logical approach goes very well with scientists. So last 30 years, I have serious discussion with scientists because we, in Nalanda tradition, extensively sort of use logic. Buddha himself used to state it. That's, I think, something unique. Oh, my follower, bhikshus, scholars should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation and experiment. That's very similar, that of scientific way of approach. So some Nalanda master actually rejected some Buddha's own teaching. Certain Buddhists are teaching some text. Some Nalanda master said, you cannot accept this teaching because if you accept literally that sort of text, it goes against the reason. So we should reject. So like Nalanda masters such as Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti, these actually, you see, because of the counter, I mentioned certain sutras, such sutra, about 10, I think 8 or 10 sutras, it mentioned where you cannot accept these. That's, I think, something unique. Nalanda tradition, I think, very, very unique. So reason, consider reason is more important than Buddha's own word.
Ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of a very fascinating address and a talk and sharing of his thoughts by His Holiness. He's talked about many things. I just picked up a few of them and just speak 2-3 of them, although I've written down about 8-10 of them. He's talked about the strength of Indian culture being because of its traditions and long historical education, and that ahimsa, which has been our main strength, can only go with karuna. And that is very good example, I thought. And that's where the religious harmony in India prevails. And that is the strength of this country. And he's also expressed a thought that India should take a lead in reaching out to the world and promoting religious harmony. Another thing, in life, attitude is most important. And if you have a problem, you may be able to solve it. If you can't solve it, don't need to worry and get your more grey hair. And another strength of Indian, which you already talked of, several religions and one unity, one truth, because of the one truth. And 90% of the negativism in the body or in your system is your own mental projection. So anger is the cause. So look inwards. Yes, truth. And then another one with your profession, Excellency, Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai. I totally agree with you. Pre-62, post-62. But I would say at the end that we've never seen so many heads nodding in approval and in agreement than today. And that speaks volumes of your, the strength of your thought process. And now finally, may I, on behalf of the Vivekanand International Foundation, all my colleagues and all you ladies and gentlemen, express our gratitude to His Holiness for sharing his thoughts with us. May we now have the pleasure of presenting your comment. I request Admiral Layer, who is also the chairman of our Board of Trustees, to do this honor.
Your Holiness, religion teaches us how to live at peace with ourselves. You, in addition to that, teach us in this very stressful world how to live at peace with ourselves, with other people. We are grateful to you for this afternoon with us. You have not only honored us, but you have enlightened us. May I, on behalf of Vivekanand Foundation, request you to accept
Gentlemen, we are all requested to join us for a cup of tea, but please wait for 5 minutes for him to get into the lift.